In this video, we're reviewing the Chengwatana ATV Trail outside of Pine City, Minnesota. Coming up. Hey everyone, so Chris here with MidwestATVTrails.com. So today we are looking at the Chengwatana ATV Trail system, which is located just outside of Pine City in Minnesota. According to the trail maps, this trail system is about 15 to 16 miles. We gave it a difficulty rating of 2 stars. It's pretty laid back. There's a couple mud holes you have to work around, but nothing to the point of really where you should be concerned about getting hurt or tipping your ATV. And even the mud holes, most of them are hard packed on the bottom, so you're able to get through them pretty easy. This trail is normally open year round, and a great thing about it is even though it's short, within that 15 to 16 mile range, it's within 2 hours of the Twin Cities of Minnesota. So if you're in that area, it's a great day trip to get to. So leaving from the main trailhead, we took a left, which got us immediately onto the larger section of the trail. Ironically, when you look at the trail maps, this is one of the only sections that isn't named, because there are actually a couple loops off of this main trail. We'll get into those shortly, however. So as you can see, as we kind of go along, it had rained a few days prior, so the trail was a little bit wet. Really nothing too bad though, and even under these small mud holes, it was very hard packed, so we didn't run into any major issues. Okay, so as we come up onto this split here, if you look to your left here, that trail system is actually leads you to the inner loop and Red Horse Trail. Now if we look at this, we're gonna go left, but if you go right, you can continue down this trail and it will take you all the way down to the other side. We'll come back to that. So going left here, we're gonna follow this down. Now this is also used for snowmobile trails in the winter. So what you'll find on the ATV side is this trail will just end in about 2 miles and we'll have to do a turnaround. But it is still a fun trail to go down. The only problem is you gotta come back, it's not a loop. As you see, we head down it, we get a lot more of the same type of trail. There's a couple cutoffs in the woods to the left and to the right where you can meet up with the other loops. But otherwise, it really just looks like this. So we'll go ahead and kind of speed through this a little bit here and fast forward. Okay, so you'll see these signs here. There's a few of these type of signs along the trail. They're really meant for snowmobilers, and they're generally talking about areas that are closed off. So if you come across those, don't think that you're gonna be able to follow those trails all the way down and meet up with those areas. We'll continue down the same trailhead. If we were to take that left, you'll actually end up meeting up with the Red Horse Trail. So we're gonna continue to go down the same trail we've been on until it comes to a dead end. Another thing you'll notice soon up this trail, however, is if you wanna stop and eat and have a little picnic, there's a great shelter area and picnic table that we're approaching right now. And it's nothing great, it's pretty rustic, but you know, there's a nice picnic table here. You can pull it out of the weeds a little bit, and then if you want, pull it under that shelter if it's too hot for you in the sun. Okay, so we'll continue on as we keep going again, more of the same type of trail, and it's really just up the road here where this trail is going to end. So we'll fast forward through this real quick. Alright, so as you can see here, this is pretty much where the turnaround is for the ATVs. That red cone there is really just meant for snowmobilers, so that is not open for us to use, at least at this time of year. So we'll go ahead and turn around, and then we're going to head back to that fork in the road that we talked about earlier, and we're going to take that to the right and down the hill. Alright, so as we take this right, it's hard to tell from the camera here, but we are actually going down a hill to the lower part of the trail. I actually think this is probably the best part of the trail. You see here we're crossing a bridge. We're going to come across more water, more bridges. The trail gets a little rougher. Again, still nothing to be concerned about if you're a newer rider. If you're not used to riding in water and mud, you will notice some mud holes like that here where it may get questionable, but again, we never got stuck. Even in the Honda 400 in this area of the trail, we never got stuck at all, and that's just a 2-wheel drive machine, so it's really not overtaxing, but it is a lot of fun. It's definitely a great section of trail. It goes on for a while, as you continue to see. We'll weave in and out of puddles and woods and all that. The other cool thing is when we get to the end of this trail, and we didn't really spend much time filming it at all, Oh, this is a nice bridge. I'm gonna cut it real quick. This is a a great bridge. It was donated to someone in their memory, but nice area. Again, this is what I mean. You run into bridges and ponds and all that. Anyway, like I was saying, we didn't film it much, but there is an area here where you can actually do some rustic camping. There's 1 or 2 campsites, very rustic, so not even any bathrooms. There's just basically an open field with a fire pit. So if you were to follow this trail all the way down, which we do, you would notice that there's a gun range, and there is a secondary trailhead there as well that you can park your vehicle at, especially if you're going to camp or anything like that. So again, as you can see, these the woods and the water definitely make this a great area to ride. It had rained here a few days ago, but this is, again, still a few days without rain. So this area really holds some water, which makes it a lot of fun, which is great because that means that even if you don't come here right after it's rained, there's still a good chance you're gonna get some awesome mud holes in here. And realistically, mud holes is probably too much. I should say water holes, because while they are a little muddy, they're really mostly water holes, and they're hard packed on the bottom. There's really 1 or 2 times at most where it got a little bit sketchy. And like I said, even with the Honda, which is 2-wheel drive only, I got through all of these mud holes down here. There was only one time we got the Honda stuck, and it's when I was goofing off and I took it in an area that I could have realistically just gotten around. So if you're, again, if you're a novice rider, if you don't really want to worry about getting stuck, you can just skip some of those areas. So when we went down and took that right at the fork we were talking about, that takes you to the Rambler Trail. Now when you go down that hill, you end up being able to take a loop, and then it brings you back towards the same area we went down. So you end up on the same trail you started on, but it does do a loop. So it's not just an out and back type of trail. Now here we are, we're coming back up that same hill where we took the right. As you can see, it's a little bit rocky. Super nice area, a lot of fun. And now we're gonna head back towards the main trailhead. From there, we actually hit another portion of the trail, which is much more rocky. So this area gets pretty rocky. It's definitely very slow going. And this rocky area, the trail you're looking at here, it starts off rocky right from the start, and that's the Red Horse Trail system. And again, this is a loop, so you can take it all the way back around and meet up with the main trailhead. And this is a great example of, you can see how slow the razor's going. The rocks aren't huge, they're just very consistent, so it's one after another. So it's definitely a slow going ride. The Honda being a manual, this area is enjoyable, but it also requires a lot of clutch work because you're constantly just giving on and off the clutch to kind of get in and out of these on and off these rocks. If you've ever driven a manual ATV, you know what I mean. It's a lot of definitely a lot of clutch work in these slow to minimal situations. In here, so as I mentioned, most of the rocks aren't big, but again, the Honda sits pretty low to the ground, so I did actually get it stuck on one of the rocks. Thankfully, it's got a nice skid plate under there, so not a big deal. If you've never driven a quad like this before, they're pretty light and they're 2-wheel drive only, so you can easily just get off, push it or carry it or lift it off the rock you're on, and then just keep on going. So again, rocks aren't huge. Most ATVs are going to clear them all, or most of them, without too much of an issue, especially if you've been riding a while. If you're very new to riding, you might want to skip the Red Horse Trail just because of the rocky environment that it entails. Okay, so after hitting the Red Horse Trail, we're gonna go ahead and hit the inner loop. And the inner loop, again, is right off the main trailhead or the Red Horse Trail. You can kind of hit it from either one. And then, and this trail also is a loop that winds back around to the main trailhead. So the inner loop trail, the Red Horse Trail, and the main trail itself all kind of intertwine, and you're able to go back and forth from one to the other, take the loops however you want. So there's definitely some variation you can mix there without having to go out and back on all the trails. This trail is a lot like the main trail we saw when we first started, just a little muddier. Other than for a few mud holes, it's pretty solid packed, straight ground, not a lot of rocks or anything like that. Just a nice relaxing ride. And even the 1 or 2 mud holes where it did get a little hairy, you could very easily go around those if you didn't want to worry about getting stuck in them. All right, we're gonna go ahead and finish out this inner loop, and then we will catch up with you when we head back towards the trailhead. Okay, so the inner loop brought us back to the trail in which we originally were discussing, and we're going to take that back to the trailhead where we started. that's it. That's the majority of the trail. There are some little offshoots here and there which you can go and enjoy, but those are the main sections of the trail. Hope this was helpful and informative. If so, think about smashing that thumbs up button. Otherwise, think about hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on future trail reviews, vlogs, and gear reviews. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.